Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Crypto Traders Arena. It's Kevin here, and just another Tuesday talking some crypto on YouTube afternoon for me. Just right about the New York Stock Exchange close right now, and I'm starting a couple minutes early. I got antsy sitting here. People were waiting on YouTube, and I'm just sitting here watching my computer. So I figured I'd just start just 2 minutes early. So if you're not in the room yet, you can just watch me on 2x speed for the first 2 minutes. But welcome everybody. Hey guys in the lounge. Good to see you. I think it looks like I'm streaming on YouTube, and hopefully I did mess with my volume a little bit. So if my, I don't know, if my sound's bad, please let me know. But it looks like we're streaming away on YouTube. So hopefully everything's good. And I got this, this funny image up here. This is another, our resident AI graphic designer, Hanya, made me a couple of October bull images, and they're kind of funny. Like this one's cracking me up. Just like his hair. I don't know what's going on with this hairdo this guy's got, but he also only has 3 fingers, which I was thinking, I guess a cow kind of only has like a hoof, is like, it's kind of like a 3-fingered hoof. Looks like there's a thumb in there, but and it looks like this dude's actually eating too much sugar or something. He's looking a little pudgy there. But thanks, Hanya. I always appreciate the images that you send me. I thought I'd use this one today. There's a few more that are they're all bulls, and I suppose they were sort of a kind of a joke for October, which, as it turns out, I guess, well, happy Halloween for one. I guess we're at the end of the month here. Today's Halloween, so maybe I'll dress up like a bull here and go and terrorize my neighborhood later today. But here we are at the end of October, and I was going to say these images kind of came around from joking about October, and I suppose crypto did end up having some sort of October here. I don't think we can say that about the stock market. Not a lot of October in the stock market, but crypto, sure enough, altcoins have been popping off. Of course, Bitcoin ripped recently up to 35K. So I guess October is a real deal here this year, and I guess Paul was right as usual. He sort of had commented early in the month that, like, the first part of October would probably be a fake out, and that's kind of what happened. It was like the first week or so they kind of fake broke the market out, and then everything kind of pulled back. But as the month got on, definitely had some uppy crypto, and I was just looking at crypto bubbles. I like using this site to sort of start this show. This is the last week, so since last Tuesday, a lot of green here. And I even banged some doubles out. I got a double on Sol, banged a double out on Link, and then also Rune, which I think I mentioned that last week, but Rune's still crushing. It's up 37% just this week, and it's still blasting off pretty good. However, I mean, there's a lot of green here, but I mean, if I go down to the day, I was just noticing all of a sudden there's not so much green today per se. A little bit more red in the market here, but we'll look at this stuff closer here in a minute. But let's see, where are we at? So I don't know. October kind of happened, and definitely stuff's ripping. So let's look at sort of I'm not going to spend tons of time on it, but maybe we'll just look at the DXY really quick, just to kind of just get back to, I don't know, zoom out here for a second and just see what's going on here with DXY, which of course I was even talking about this last week. I think, I don't know, crypto hasn't been particularly inversely correlated with DXY of late. And actually, if anything, it's been inversely correlated to the other risk on markets like the stock market. So I don't know, like, it seems like of late, crypto's kind of moving opposite to the stock market, which would make it sort of correlated to the DXY. But nonetheless, this is a weekly chart here, and all I'll say really is we're just kind of still up. Like, we're in this sort of 38.2 to 50% zone here, ripped straight up into there. Did put in like a daily M, that's that red line, which was just a fake out. They basically just ticked through and that's actually a weekly M too, sort of. It's in there. Doesn't look particularly bearish right here. But we're still just kind of battling. This is like that 38.2 battle. We hit 50% level already. And so that sort of completed the GAN 50% move, which just for fun, we could draw that really quick and just see how accurate, if I can remember where the funny thing is I was just doing a TradingView tutorial yesterday, for our new students, and, I should know all this stuff. Date range is what I'm looking for. Like Gann, 50% rule says that, the 50% level should be hit in half of the move. So we had this big down move on DXY, took 41 weeks. So I suppose 20 weeks, 20 and a half, or 20 and a half weeks to be specific, would have been the Gann rule. And it looks like we got pretty damn close. We'll put it at 21 just for fun. So like Gann was pretty much, well, he was early by five or 6 weeks, but that's kind of a nice tool to just use to sort of frame this sort of idea of like a dead cat bounce back into this zone here. And oftentimes 50% levels are tagged, and 50% levels are pretty good targets if you're trying to trade a range. Like maybe you're buying out the bottom of the range, and maybe you're going to use your 50% level as a target. That's pretty nice conservative target to use. On the flip side, you could even look at it back here. Like, let's, for fun, while I'm talking about it here, we'll just go look at this up move. This up move took 90 bars. So I suppose 45 bars should have been this 50% tag, which was actually way back here. So that happened quite a bit faster. We got the 50% tag only in like, let's see, am I doing this right here? Well, I'm not drawing my, oh yeah. So the 50% level was hit on right there. So yeah, let's see. Somewhere in there. So 15. So it didn't take very long to take back that move, but you still can see how we came down into 50% level and did find some support there. Of course, it wasn't enough to really turn the trend, but did get like a little dead cat bounce off that level and then rolled over again. Never quite hit Mountain Man on the DXY. I kind of was thinking we'd tag Mountain Man, but sure enough, they front ran that level and put in the bounce before. But anyway, here we are, just still pointing up. I don't know, still looks kind of uppy. They faked out this little M, like on the daily chart, you can see that M a little closer. There's even a little M inside here. And then they just took it back up into what's now short reload zone. So I suppose the question here is, it looks like the trend is still very much up still. It's just a question of like, if you even just drew some fibs off of this little move here, you'll probably see short reload zone tags up here, not quite to 78.6, but this is resistance up in here. So it's not a huge surprise that we're kind of backing, we backed off there, but then sure enough, they just ripped it right back up in there. So the question is here, do we continue higher, or do we finally roll over? And I mean, as far as the indicators here, RSI is actually trying to W here off the 50 line. So that's not particularly bearish. We did get like a small divergence in M back here that sort of triggered the first rollover. But man, that looks like we're finding support on the 50 line of RSI. So not particularly bearish in DXY here. And so we'll just leave it at that. It's still pointing very much higher. I mean, and just last thing I'll say is just, moving averages are still pointing up here. We haven't actually even crossed these moving averages yet. So the trend is still very much up. And even the 200, you can see starting to point up. And so, now we're basically in like a macro uptrend, I would say, and we should expect this 200 to be tested on pullbacks, but any pullbacks into that 200 are by the dip opportunities, in my opinion. So the DXY is just not breaking, which maybe doesn't even matter for crypto, because crypto is not particularly inversely correlated at the moment with DXY, like I was saying. So anyhow, just look at the stock market really quick to kind of, you can clearly see the stock market's been in a downtrend here. And we actually lost the 200 here. This is the SPY ETF, S&P 500. We got up into short reload zones and even past, when we did put in the high. And this is a kind of a good example of divergences and stuff. What a nice RSI divergence that came in on that high, just right there, that confirmed somewhere in here. That was FOMC. That gap down was FOMC meeting. That confirmed the divergence. And then this was the short opportunity here. Kind of like I was just saying with DXY, they took it back up against the highs here, even ticked into that gap just a little bit. And then the party's been over since then. And that doesn't look like October to me. So I guess, October was, we kind of had like this little bounce here early in the month, but then not a lot of October right now. And if anything, at the moment, we've lost the 200. Like I said, we got M's everywhere. Moving averages are pointing down. And we're down in that pump chaser zone, just like, essentially the DXY, but flipped over. And so it kind of looks like, I mean, if anything, we're coming into support here against the old highs here. And I think for whatever reason, this 4,200 or 420 level on SPY, I think there's a lot of support here. That was the breakout level here going back to like last May that basically broke this range and went into full bull market here for a little while. And now we're just kind of battling that same level. So I don't know. I expect this 4,200 or 420 level to be probably played around with for a while the 200 decides, the 200 moving average decides what it's doing. And we just see, but so we're kind of over, we're getting a little bit overcooked here to the downside. RSI has touched oversold now twice. And we're actually technically in a potential divergence there. It's going to take a lot to confirm it, but technically that's actually a higher high, I believe, or higher low, I should say. So we're trying to put in a little bit of a divergence. And so there's support here when we look left. Kind of oversold here. Wouldn't be surprised to see at least a bounce up into the 200, but once we get back up to the 200 here and back against this kind of key low here and the moving averages, probably be looking for another rollover for the moment. And maybe if we're lucky that, we can W out somewhere down in here to actually set a base and sort of keep the party going. But at this point, any moves back up to the top of the range is probably shortable. So the stock market doesn't look particularly good. And just to keep talking about divergences, I guess we never really got OBV divergence on that top, but we did get a really nice RSI divergence. OBV took a while longer, eventually like M'd out kind of over here. And there was one last short opportunity against that gap right there. I don't know if that was quite a reload zone though. Maybe we got Mountain Man there, but probably not. Can't remember here specifically, but yeah, not quite. Actually, that's a good example of 38.2 resolving bearishly. We just came up into 38.2s and smacked down. So anyway, long story short, stock market's still kind of struggling here, not really bottomed yet. There is a 3-bar fractal bottom here, but any bounces are just dead cat bounces that probably should expect another lower high for the moment until we start seeing like, more consolidation or at least a W or something here to show the bottom. But that brings up the point that FOMC again is actually probably pretty soon here. I don't know the exact week. It must be in 2 weeks maybe, or I think maybe only 1 week, but I think 2 weeks. So we have another interest rate announcement coming up. So that's going to be a pretty big event. It's probably too early to say if we sell off into that event, maybe, it seems likely the interest rates are going to be raised. I think that's probably likely. And so I don't know if that's probably also kind of priced in a lot of ways. So maybe they can sell the market down into that event and bounce it, which would be sort of the opposite of what happened back here. So anyway, I kind of skipped the NASDAQ. I'll just say the NASDAQ, this is the QQQs, but still haven't hit the 200. So that's kind of why I think another lower high here and rolling over and actually tagging the 200 at least on the NASDAQ seems likely. So it seems like more down. And of course the NASDAQ, unlike the ES or the S&P, doesn't really have that support when you look left. It's still kind of open air right here. So there's a lot more downside risk on the NASDAQ still. Just all these gaps in here and just, this is the next key high going way back here. So still more down looking in NASDAQ, potentially. And otherwise the same story. It's like, can we W out somewhere around here to bounce back up? But so far it's just 3-bar fractal. And actually, we do have potential OBV divergence here, but RSI never really got oversold yet. And it's also not in divergence because we made a new low here. So probably got to patiently wait for RSI to turn there. Talking like these daily charts, that is. So I don't know, stock market looks pretty lackluster. And to be honest, like for like the last couple months, I've been talking about how I'd be more interested in investing in altcoins than stocks. And I still feel that way. I don't see any rush in the stock market to go buy and stuff. It just seems like there could be a lot more trouble down the road, and crypto might have to get drugged down with that stuff. But I mean, we're starting to see lots of weekly W's in altcoins. I'm still sticking with this sort of halving kind of thesis that we should bottom several months before the halving. And I also think a bottom into the end of the year is still very much on the table. So, I mean, everything's looking pretty good for crypto, really, even if it's just sort of a mini alt season next year or something. It kind of looks like it's setting up. So, and all, I have my weekly W list that's building, and I'll talk about those names here in a second. Keep adding stuff to that. But anyway, before that, I'll just move on to Bitcoin really quick and just make a couple comments on what's going on with Bitcoin. I guess it's the only problem with like the altcoin market right now in terms of the bottom coming in like right now is Bitcoin's right into resistance here. So Bitcoin's sort of in a precarious place to be like maybe we roll over here. And so kind of like that same 38.2 story. We actually haven't hit 38.2s yet. So that's at 36K or 35.9 on Coinbase. So I do think popping up into this orange box, just kind of like I showed you on the SPY and the DXY, are both sitting in that zone right now. It still seems likely that we're going to, at least touch 38.2. So I don't know if the up is over yet, but either way, we completed this head and shoulders target at 35 and, are pointing strongly up for sure, but just into resistance. And if you look left here, you can even see like those candle body highs right there at 38.2, just kind of sitting there with these tails hanging down that are getting eaten right now. That's just sort of like an area where I would expect kind of price to get sucked up into, but then also find some resistance here, even if it's just 38.2 getting hit and having to pull back for a little while, but still staying in the uptrend. That would be like a nice situation. But point being here, we're just kind of running into resistance. So that might sort of put a pause in altcoins if, if this dumps, if Bitcoin decides it wants to dump, that's not going to be great for altcoins. If Bitcoin decides it wants to just kind of hit 38.2 and pull back and consolidate for a while, that could be really positive for altcoins. But either way, should still be mindful of the chances of like, buy when it snows, sell when it goes kind of thinking that usually suggests that prices are down in the dumps when it's snowing. And sure enough, around here, it just turned into winter overnight, man. The last couple of days, like winter just hit hard and all of a sudden it's cold. Like it hasn't quite snowed yet, but it's getting close. So point being, like, still kind of thinking lower prices into the end of the year anyway. So like it would be healthy for Bitcoin to kind of run into resistance here, pull back a bit for a month or so and just, go sideways and let altcoins just kind of get tax loss sold off or whatever's going to happen, drive price down. And then definitely looking to be a buyer here for the next couple of months. And actually I've been buying some things this week even. So that's about all I'll say. Well, I'll mention Bitcoin's indicators, I guess, really quick here, just because look at RSI here getting up into overbought. That's kind of plays along nicely with the idea of resistance up here. Although, it doesn't mean we have to roll right over here, but we are getting up into overbought. Certainly no divergence there from, we're making a higher high right now on RSI. We've already closed a higher high, so there's no chance of divergence right there. So we got to wait for a while to see like M's coming in before we can start calling tops in RSI at least. And really, like, when I see something like this, I think of, we get the pullback and then maybe price shoots up. Maybe we have to shoot up into this zone here and then we get a divergence because we don't make, if we can just kind of pull back, make a new high, like FU these highs and set up a potential M in RSI, that's what it would take to make a divergence. So that a lot has to happen for that to come in. So it's not going to be probably take a week or so to at least see the potential for that. And OBV is just basically, we did M out in divergence back here. That was we had, two divergences in RSI and OBV right here, which actually did trigger that, this sell-off here. But at the moment now we're kind of, RSI has already taken out those highs, like I was just saying, and OBV is still in an M and still now pointing down, making a lower high here. No W's yet. So this kind of indicators look like they're kind of a little bit, RSI being a little bit exhausted, and then OBV still just kind of pointing down, not really bottomed yet in this recent, action. and you can kind of see the M's going back through here coming in. So yeah, resistance, Bitcoin heading into resistance here. As I learned from Brian Beamish and his old mentor, Ray Burchett, I think is what his name was, the guy that sort of had this idea of 38.2 being like sort of a battle line for bulls and bears to resolve here. So like, if you have you have a big downtrend here, big bear market, you get a dead cat bounce up into 38.2s. We should expect 38.2s to be tested, but at this level is the battle. Like, is this just a dead cat bounce where we roll over again, or is it a new bull market where we continue trending higher? And we'd have to sort of build above 38.2 here, and at least like bull flag here. Like if we saw like a bull flag come in here, some sort of continuation pattern, then we could start thinking of maybe Bitcoin wants to go after reload zones and stuff up at 48,000 or something. But man, I wouldn't be surprised to see some crazy price action shooting up into the 40s before it rolls over. We'll see what happens, but at this point, like, they're probably going to try to suck everybody in. I don't know how much FOMO is going on right here, but they'll probably, I could see something kind of epic just pushing up into 40-ish area. So anyway, that's Bitcoin. Ethereum, I don't know. Just I won't say too much about Ethereum. We're getting up into short reload zones here. I think I have that drawn on my daily chart. And I also drew these trend lines earlier. So I mean, I have basically Ethereum. I think we're in a range here with this low being the bottom of the range for right now, 1500. We never got the exact 1500 tag. I don't think. Got close, 1520. And we also did get 50% level tags though, right here. And we never quite hit this trend line yet. But I did, point being, we got a range here where, again, this orange box is 38.2 of the range off the lows. So kind of same. It's funny how every one of these markets is basically Ethereum's a little past that, but it played with 38.2s for a while. And this you could argue resolved bullishly for the moment. I mean, it's not really a great W because we were still making kind of new lows through there. So I don't think, we had a W kind of right there. So I guess there's that W that was the breakout. But nonetheless, we had the strong uptrend, came back down into 38.2s and basically found support right off 38.2. Great, 50% level, but in the zone. So, I guess you could say, the only problem with Ethereum is we have this big M working, right here, just massive M at the top of the range. And so now we're just getting up against, potential trend line and reload zone tags. So I drew this trend line off the top. I think that gives you a nice, frames a nice area of resistance here. Also Mountain Man at 1900. So somewhere up around 1900, we'll see what happens when price gets up there. And of course, anywhere into this red box, I think at the moment is shortable. I mean, I think the uptrend is broken because of this big M. And as much as 38.2, 38.2 got taken out and then bounced off 50% level, and we're above it now. But like I was just saying, there's not really, that's actually like sort of a megaphony looking kind of pattern, or it's not really a W because of this lower low here. So it's kind of, I don't know. Ethereum's waffling in terms of whether or not this uptrend is still intact. I kind of think it's broken. And so I do think shorting opportunities against red boxes is reasonable. But, of course, we only have 2 months now into the end of the year. So, do they take price up here, roll it back over? And I don't know if we get way back down into green boxes or anything, but I do think some sideways downy, sideways and down, just kind of drifting around here under this trend line seems pretty likely into the end of the year. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, whatever that means. I mean, I want to buy altcoins and stuff, so I don't really want to see these markets just go into full-on ripper right here just yet. But point being here, I was just going to mention these trend lines and just say, like, it's interesting how these trend lines are setting up this triangle. So I think, resistance against the red trend line at the top and reload zones, and then support against this bottom trend line, essentially. And let's see what happens when this triangle resolves. We've basically kind of created this zone of consolidation here, and if we get above the trend line and actually can set up like continuation patterns, then yeah, sure, maybe we go after the highs here next, but we'll see what happens with that trend line. Just mention dominance really quick. I know Paul was talking about this M in dominance here and was kind of watching this little M come in. And if we can see dominance break down here, maybe alts can, we'll probably be hunting shorter time frame longs and altcoins. That'll sort of be a little bit more sort of confirmation that altcoins might be able to push higher. However, that M could easily just be a little fake out here. It looks like they're taking back the move today that did confirm that M. But either way, RSI is way overbought here. OBV is still pointing higher. I don't know how relevant OBV and volume is on Bitcoin dominance. I've always wondered why. Yeah, I don't know. Probably shouldn't pay too much attention to that. I don't know. I don't know how that's calculated per se, but either way, you can kind of see RSI's got very overbought, and not really an M though, funny enough. And not really, well, we do have potential divergences going all the way back to these old highs. But funny enough, we're back at 38.2s as well. So, or into the pump chaser zone. In this case would be like the dump chaser zone, I suppose, but same concept. We had bear market, dead cat bounce up into this zone, and now we're just waiting. Any M's that come in up here, like real, like weekly M's or daily, we kind of have a daily M, but any sort of bigger market structure that suggests rolling over, that'll be healthy for altcoins. Sideways E would, I think, be okay too, just to sort of set the base in altcoins. What we really don't want to see is Bitcoin just completely fall out of bed. That'll kill altcoins. But if it just sort of gradually kind of seems like, if it doesn't just do some epic dump, then altcoins can probably hang in there and maybe hold the weekly W's that they're starting to put in. So it looks like another 38.2 zone kind of market here. If you want to call this a market, I suppose, but we'll just see what happens here. Probably expect to see 50% level tagged really at this point. There's nothing in the weekly chart that shows a top here except for RSI being a little bit overbought, but not in divergence. So still kind of seems like Bitcoin's in control here. We'll just have to, again, everything's just waiting on Bitcoin to resolve 38.2, I would say, the whole crypto market. Ethereum BTC, I was just looking at here and noticing that it's basically just down against the 50% level again and doesn't look great. So this is kind of why this is almost a better tell that Bitcoin sort of is in control here in crypto, and altcoins are just kind of going to do, their thing while Bitcoin figures itself out, because it seems like most of the attention on Bitcoin. And this is sort of showing that it looks like this tail is just in the process of being eaten. If we lose that tail, then technically we have a big ass M here. Of course, there's M's all over the place up here. So, it's rolled over. Reload zones for Ethereum BTC is down at 44 cents. So I don't know. It seems likely that I could easily see this kind of area being tested. There's nothing particularly bottom looking right here, right? We now just finally got RSI oversold. Definitely no divergences, and OBV is still pointing strongly down. So, and that's just kind of open air right here. Like if you were looking at an altcoin trying to buy it, you'd probably be looking to buy down in, even 78.6. And I think that's probably kind of where this is headed. So Ethereum against BTC is not looking good, which I think is a good proxy for saying the altcoin market also is just sort of going to have to be on pause a little bit while Bitcoin figures itself out, which, to be fair, there are some altcoins that are pretty ripping right now. So it's not the entire market, but anyhow, probably not much to say about market cap here. It does look like it's taking off, so that's a good sign. Looks like we're trying to take out the highs in total market cap. We'll see what happens. Not too much to say there. That kind of looks like a head and shoulders, though. It's a little steep with the neckline, but kind of looks like money might be flowing into crypto a little bit. I see kind of like a head and shoulders there. It's just a little steep, but not too bad. So that's actually coming in right now, which would suggest, I don't know, somewhere up here, 1.8 trillion or something. So actually looking at this, I kind of think, well, that sort of fits the narrative of like the end of the year bottom, like is money flowing in, like, crypto's been a little uppy, maybe it takes a month or two to fully work itself out, but the longer that's pushing up, I mean, or if this continues to look bullish like this, then I suppose, I don't know, it's relatively positive. That's all I'll say about that. But, David, you like that bull suit, huh? All right. Well, what else can let's see. We'll just jump into some crypto. I guess I could toot my own horn a little bit. I did get got a double on Sol. I got a double on Link. Just sitting up here. This was kind of like a Stefan Power 3 call, which is suggesting way higher for Link. So, and Link had to go through this consolidation period when the rest of the market, back in January was more like right here. Right during this time, a lot of the crypto market was ripping, whereas Link was just like doing nothing here, just range bound in this little consolidation. But of course, this tight consolidation is sort of like a spring to launch this thing now that it's broken out of the range. So who knows how high it's going to go. But this is that kind of power 3. I think Stefan bought like the bottom. But basically, I like these. These are cool trades. Just sort of like a reclaimed. I mean, Power 3 is one. That's the ICT guys kind of concept. But you could also just simply look at it as like, these equal lows we're building here, and so there was liquidity under here that was there for the taking. And it's not uncommon for them to take. They took that liquidity there, sort of broke this consolidation range, but then reclaimed it right away. So that's a nice setup in itself. Just kind of looking for these scenarios where the liquidity gets grabbed. When you see these like, two or more lows kind of stacking up here. In this case, we kind of had, these two, then that one, but even this one here. So there's just kind of a lot of liquidity building up below here where stops were and stuff like that. And anyway, just, losing that level, but then a quick reclaim of the range that's a nice place to hunt longs. And you can see what happened here. Of course, the Power 3 actual setup probably projects something way up here for Link. We'll see and that probably will happen. I don't know. Is there going to be another chance to buy Link? Somebody was asking me that the other day, actually. And I think even Paul was tweeting about this, actually. Do you want to buy Link right here? I don't think so. But if you want to buy Link, you could simply draw fibs here and start hunting, 765 and below. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that kind of thing happen here. And this would fall in the category of like strong altcoin. I think the weekly W itself is a little wonky, but it's there. I mean, there's this nice W here that's working. Of course, there's even sort of like, I don't know if W's here because this price action is kind of ugly, but either way, we got the W. Location's pretty good. This is let me look at it on like somewhere with a little bit more data, but either way, you can, you can also see how that old breakout level was that sort of key support here as they took the liquidity in that range. But all I was going to say is, we're still below 78.6, ironically. So yeah, sure. I guess if you're buying Link right here, you're still technically buying below 78.6. However, I don't really like the idea of chasing it. I mean, it's now doubled off the lows here. And, hunting reload zones back in the range seems likely to get filled. And at bare minimum, they'll probably retest the top of the range here. That's still a little bit chasey, but at bare minimum, I think you should at least let that range get tested again and maybe hunt lower moves back into here. But it looks like the bottom's, I mean, I don't know. That's not really the kind of bottom I love. I mean, I do like the weekly W. I like that RSI's in divergence now, even though we're overbought at the moment. And I don't think one thing I haven't loved about Link is, I mean, we have a potential divergence here because we did make a new low there. It's just going to have to break. I mean, it's getting close to breaking out here. If OBV can break this high here, then we'll actually have OBV divergence. So, I mean, it's not my favorite looking bottom just because we did take that low out now, but that just kind of suggests we probably will get another opportunity to buy Link. So I don't think FOMOing into anything right now is a good idea. Same story we were talking about last week. I don't know if you want to chase these markets when they're up like this. Like, I think we talked about Sol that way last week, and I think, sure, you could have chased Sol right here last week and you'd be up a couple bucks, but I think it's pretty dangerous to be buying Sol right here. It's probably best to just keep drawing your reload zones, wherever this high comes in and start hunting, moves against this trend line will probably end up being the reload zone by the time this thing's all ready to roll over here. I don't think it's a good idea to chase to chase this thing up here. I mean, it's up 3x off the lows or more, even 4x. So I don't know. I'd be careful chasing these. And then I suppose the last double. Oh, I already mentioned Rune last week or Sunday, I think. But man, this thing is ripping now. So I did get a double on Rune too. But man, it's just going. I guess I could potentially get a second. Well, that's pretty far higher. But I don't know if they can give me a second double way up here. Maybe. That looks pretty damn bullish. This is a great example of weekly W's, man. Look at that. I mean, you could have bought the retest the week after the close, and just nice. This is kind of what we look for in weekly W's. So if can get yourself in the mindset of just kind of hunting, like when price sort of looks like that, you could see the candle body close above the W level. That's sort of like the green light, and then you can hunt pullbacks, and we're into this kind of pattern with lots of altcoins. You can even see divergences here because we did make a new low here. So there, was divergence in RSI and OBV, it looks like. So that's kind of what, I mean, this doesn't have a lot of data here on Kraken. I guess I could look at that somewhere else. I got my Kraken charts on because those are the ones I'm actually trading them there. But yeah, when you look at it on Binance, location got really good, way down against the old lows. And we did start seeing divergences coming in back here, and then the weekly W came in. This is the exact trade we want to try to hunt. Now, we want to hunt them back here. This one's already gone. And I have this list down here. So I have, last week I think I had 11 names. I added some more this week. And this isn't comprehensive. I mean, there's probably other weekly Ws. In fact, if anybody finds weekly Ws, send them to me and I'll add them to the list. And these are just random ones that I've been kind of seeing here and there. But just to use, just as an example, we could start, if we're trying to find stuff like this that hasn't taken off yet. I know, one, it's kind of taken off a little bit. It looks like they pulled it back here just while I started this show because this was a big green candle here. But hopefully you can see this Sia coin. Kind of looks like Rune, right? It did before Rune took off. So this is exactly the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. Now, way down against the old lows from last cycle. So fibs aren't even necessary to draw. We're way down against the lows. Is there any divergences here? Let's see. I mean, the divergences actually came in mostly on the first pump. So this was sort of like the beginning of the year. I mean, they ripped this thing pretty good. It's good. I don't know, whatever that is, 3x or something. So it looks like divergences. Well, we didn't even get RSI divergence there. We got a W finally here. And then it looks like OBV also not a divergence. So actually we didn't really truly get divergences on that move. And now we've been range bound sideways here. So I can't really expect too much on the weekly chart, at least. We'd have to zoom in to probably find divergences. So we don't really have divergence per se. I mean, we are starting to kind of point higher in OBV and also starting to W out here. Like you can kind of see how the W's come in, and we're also taking out the highs. So like money's flowing in here, and also big old W and RSI right through the 50 line. And like I said, this was just a big ass green candle a minute ago. They must have just knocked it down. Well, like an hour ago. So maybe you get your buy the dip. I actually bought this. I already got filled here at the breakout level. And I could easily see, we haven't truly gotten like a real Wyckoff check here. And actually this weekly candle is not looking great here it's only Tuesday. It was looking a lot better a couple hours ago. So we'll see how this ends. But my point here is hopefully you can at least see the W and how that looks like Rune. And so I already bought this, like I said, and I added it to my weekly W list. A couple other ones that I could mention while I'm at it would be like, well, the ones I've added where I guess are mostly these. So like ARPA, not really a great, I mean, everything kind of went red. Like I was showing on Crypto Bubbles, today we sort of are going red now. So, ARPA's breakout's not looking particularly awesome right here, but it is a W. It'd be nice to see this thing close above the breakout level by the end of the week. We'll see what happens. I'll just be watching it. But everything's kind of pointing higher. And one thing I don't love about ARPA is there is like we're not down against the old cycle lows. But I mean, also the cycle itself is just kind of, I mean, that's not even the last cycle. That's 2020. Well, I don't know. The cycle's different for ARPA actually, because we've put in this kind of crazy up and down price action. It's had multiple rips here, but there is some like, I don't love the sort of, I don't know. Even if just there's a lot of, if anything, these lows even can be tested. Like that W level there just seems like, hasn't been quite tested yet. So this one has more downside risk. It's not like all the way down against the lows yet, but nonetheless, it's another W. It's funny how some of these things, these are off 6%, 4% here today. So anyway, Cartesi, or however you say this, CTSI, is also another one that I added to the list this week. And bought. I mean, I already had some of this, but it actually got a double off here, but some reloading, bought the breakout, got a close already above the breakout level last week. So we'll see what happens. The Wyckoff check is in progress right now. So I mean, there's buying that 1425 level or so is the breakout level. Whether you want to hunt a little lower, you could probably get filled down against the candle body low here, maybe 1307. I'm just gonna be nibbling away, but hopefully you can just see, this old market structure W back here. And if you draw your fibs off there, we're well within below 78.6, and RSI W into the 50 line, and OBV's pointing up. But I don't think there's enough room for divergence right here. We had divergences back here. So like this was my setup last time, on this W breakout with OBV divergence. Now we don't have divergence, but we do have the previous market structure W. I'm okay with taking my shot here with the complete understanding that these lows could all get taken out. And then, there's always that 50% haircut in the back of my mind with these, like at any point, this first W, or this is actually the second W, I guess you could say, but because this weekly W is still working. But you could see at 14 cents here, we could easily come off to 7 cents, even lower down against the, that W there is all the way down at 6 cents. So yeah, that's 50%. So just keep that in mind and try to, we'll see this buy when it snows. Like, is it snowing yet? It kind of is. Maybe it's snowing somewhere, but we're getting closer. And so maybe for the next 3 or 4 months, we might have to come down into these levels. So try to keep some dry powder so that you can sort of work with the possibility of these W's failing. And that's kind of what we'll just be watching for right now is there's a lot of weekly W's coming in. They'll probably all fail to, keep in mind crypto is highly correlated. So, they're all going to fail at the same time, probably. And then ironically on the other side, some might go up and some might be weaker, but they all should kind of move together. So if these W's are going to hold, we should see the market kind of drift higher, and some will outperform others. But if we start losing the W's, then probably most of these are going to fail. So just keep that in mind. And we are still a little early, in my opinion. I don't think it's the time to be FOMOing or anything. Just kind of be patient and wait. But they're here. That's all I can say is I've been cautiously, patiently bullish here for the last couple of months, and then just all of a sudden you start seeing them. And this is kind of an ugly W, but it's there. This ATA is another one. These are the ones I really like, ones like this where it's nice and tight. Like, not like a strong confirmation just yet, but we did get kind of down against the old Binance opening, which is still a little bit, it's still almost 50%, or it is 50% down to actually hit that level. So same story. We could lose 50% here, but this one does have potential OBV divergence and not really RSI divergence. We do have potential I don't even know if that's true. No, so this is the low right here. So we don't have any divergence in RSI. I'm not too worried. I just threw RSI on here because I wanted to talk about it in these shows a little bit, but I don't pay, when I'm talking my weekly charts here, I actually don't really use that in my setup. I'm more focused on OBV, and that's enough for me. But I thought I'd throw it on just so I can talk about it here. And it's worth noting. And really, one way I like to use RSI is it's like if here, this is a good example of how OBV is in potential divergence, not confirmed. It's going to have to take out the highs here to confirm. So it's got some more work to do to actually confirm. But one way you could use RSI, in my opinion, if you wanted stronger confirmation, and maybe this is better for like lower time frame setups, but it's the same for the weekly charts. It just takes a lot longer to play out. But it'd be nice to see RSI at least touch oversold here while the divergences are coming in. So the fact that we didn't actually touch oversold and bounce kind of makes me think that there's still more down in the future. So that is one way I like to, especially like also with MACD too. Like I don't really trust MACD divergences that much unless RSI got overbought or oversold. So that's one way I like to use that. But like I was saying, I'm not really, when I'm trying to buy weekly W's and stuff, I'm mostly just concerned with OBV. I want to see confirmation that accumulation's happening. That's what I like about OBV is it's just kind of showing that, basically the whole bear market in this name, there has been like sort of some accumulation happening. So that's a good sign. And there's actually a little W back here. So there's actually two W's in this. There's one here, and then now there's like a second one trying to come in. But, buy this breakout if you want. I don't know. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm happy to buy this breakout. And I probably did. I went and worked in order, so I'm sure I got filled there. And I'm also just going to patiently let it, I'm happy to buy the breakout, but I'm still leaving room on the table to add. And, if it can close above here, that's a good sign. And then you can hunt the Wyckoff check or deeper into reload, like draw a reload zone off of that high where maybe it takes off a little bit and you have to sort of draw a reload zone and look for the pullback. But once this W is confirmed with like a nice weekly close above that level, that's pretty good for me. That'll probably confirm this OBV divergence too. So anyway, that's another one that I added. Lit is another one, Litten tree or whatever this thing is, LIT. It looks almost the exact same. Also got back down to the Binance lows almost, but still has, that same 50%, even more downside risk, but almost the exact same chart. But look at OBV here, just cranking higher. That's like what you want to see. And actually we even have divergence even through here. So I love that. Like, if you just look at these lows here, we're making newer lows, lower low, lower low, lower low. OBV is making, even if you just kind of take it from here, like even right there actually, which is a really good sign, even that low is lower. So we're even in divergence just actually through that price action right there and now confirmed. This one, I have it on Coinbase, or Crack, one of the two. So anyway, this one's kind of like a lot like that ATA, but same kind of W. This one also has confirmed divergence though, so I like that. And of course, it's if you wanted to draw, your range here, of course, location's good, which location's good on most altcoins right now, but right in the middle of the reload zone at this point. And we did get an 88.6 tag in already and found support off 88.6. Looks like twice actually. We hit it twice here. Looking at this, it kind of looks like a head and shoulders actually, and the W's look a little weak. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I do see this head and shoulders, which is a good sign. It's kind of like, or wait, how am I seeing this? Yeah, I swear I see head and shoulders in there. Let me get that. It's kind of weird, but my mind's saying head and shoulders here. I guess I'm kind of seeing it. Yeah, it's like this. It's kind of like, it's weird. There's kind of not really a great neckline, but hopefully at least you see what I'm getting at here. We kind of have a shoulder and a head and another shoulder, not very clean. So that's kind of bottomy looking, but I also will say this W is a little weak. It's kind of steep. I'm still rolling with these, but again, like I said, I'm still just patiently nibbling my way in. And I do think there's a good chance these W's could fail, but I'm still willing to start. Now's the time to start. I don't know. Look at this thing. If if this W can hold, and we are against the old lows here, and we're not quite against the original low, but if this thing can just stay sort of in this area before it truly breaks out, look at all the upside here. I mean, it's 78 cents right here, and I mean, just taking out these highs is more than a double already. And then of course, it maybe gets up into this kind of area here, $7. So the 10x, you might have to take some heat. Maybe you have to, maybe you nibble your way in and kind of average your way in and until the real bottom comes in. But man, this thing definitely has like 10xable possibility. I see you guys posting some requests. I'll get to those in a minute here. Well, those are the only ones I added. So I covered the four five. So I added five. I noticed this poly, this thing was ripping, so it's off 23%, but it also launched. And I think I said last week, I have some of this from an airdrop from 2017. I only I think 500 or 250 of them. I can't remember. So not a lot, but I just think it's funny that I've been holding that, been bag holding this shit since it was like early 2017. I think I got this airdrop. But I never bought it here. So, I mean, anybody that was buying against the lows here got a nice 3x or almost 4x, or it looks like. This thing ripped. But really, my only point is it's a weekly W now. So we can, and the OBV divs are in. So I'm pretty comfortable with just drawing reload zones here. I mean, we'll see what happens here, but maybe we can get dips down into 78.6 at 17 cents. And I talked about all these last week. They're all pretty red at the moment, but they all kind of look the same as the ones I just showed you, like a rose here, a little stronger of a breakout, and it's kind of maintaining, but I like the idea of buying rose as on a pullback to the W level. The C98 is very similar. I mean, they all look kind of the same, but which is, weekly W's in. This one looks a little stronger too, kind of like rose. So, Sia Coin, Rose, C98, these all look a lot alike. And so it's just kind of it just comes down to whether you want to take your shot or not. I'm pretty down to take my shot on these kind of W's here. So I won't go into these because I did talk about them last week. Not a lot's changed. Just if anything, they're pulling back. So go hunt your, levels if you're interested in buying any of those. And so I have, I don't know, what do I have? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 weekly W's here. I know there's more. I'll try to get this list built out more, and then I can share this list if anybody wants it. But kind of my intention is just to sort of, every time I see a weekly W, I'm going to add it into this list, and I'm just going to kind of keep a running tab on the weekly W's I've found, and probably buy most of them, to be honest. Like I've said a lot, like it's like we'll know when there's the more weekly W's you can find in the market, the more likely the entire crypto market is bottomed, right? Because the whole market's correlated and basically moves together. So if we can see strong bases set in a large number of coins, then we can have a lot more faith that we might actually have truly bottomed. So maybe I'll cover some of the requests here because there's a bunch piling up in here. And I've already been talking 50 minutes. Geez, I swear there's never enough time to cram in all the stuff. But man, there's a bunch in here. So let me look at the chat here and let's see here. GRT, Robles asking about, which I haven't looked at GRT lately. Looks like not really a weekly W, but we do have a working base here. And actually, it's funny how this W was sort of like a weak, I don't know what the right name would be for that, but you can see how the candle bodies are sort of lower than the candle bodies here. So it's not like a clothesline W. If we were just look at a line chart here, we tick to a new low just barely. So I don't know, it's still a W in my opinion on the candles, which is what I use. And it's nice location down here, a little above 88.6 is the breakout level. And you can see how prices found support now twice, 2 or 3 weeks here of bouncing off of that level. So the Wyckoff check of this move happened and we found a bounce. That's a good sign. And then now we have another one of those kind of same W's. It's not a line chart W. But technically, let's see, that low there is 764 and this low is 766. So we actually FU'd that low. So we don't really have a true W. Do have nice potential divergence in OBV, and of course also just a very strong OBV since the bottom. So I like that. RSI itself, this is a good example of, see how RSI is W'd here above oversold. It's kind of like, just sort of suggests to me that there's more down. And so really it's like, I mean, I think the whole market could easily do something like this, come down and actually have to touch, touch oversold. Of course, back here, they went into divergence, but never quite touched it, got damn close, but never actually hit oversold. So I don't know. But you can see the difference between the divergences here, at least. I mean, look at that nice divergence in OBV and in RSI at the same time here. And then the W came in right after. That kind of produced that big, strong run up. So we want to see something like that. Whether we have that right now, I prefer the true W's here. I mean, we have all the fixins. Like we have, we're in a reload zone even right here. Had the old W checked already below 786, and kind of at least we have a W in RSI and OBV's in potential divergence. It's not my favorite just yet. I mean, I'm happy to buy this one, but I'd kind of like to just see it, calmly come down against the lows here and put in a W or something, like a real W somewhere in here, to have more confidence. But it looks pretty good. I mean, if it's I think this is I don't know about the FA per se, but it's a relatively well-liked name. And I think it has some AI spin on it. So it's part of the AI narrative, I think. I'm not positive, but I think that's kind of what this rip was the AI pump. I mean, if anything, it's relatively cheap here. You're kind of chasing it right here, but not that bad. I mean, even just buying it at 9.5 cents or something a little cheaper would be less chasey and closer to 78.6. But either way, you're in the reload zone. So, I mean, sure, if you want to start dollar cost averaging this thing or something because you like it, it's totally in an okay location. I definitely could see more down here. So, I don't know. I like it, but just not as far along. I do prefer like that's like Siacoin or something is always going to make me, I'm always going to prefer something like this where it's like it's a little farther along in the bottoming phase and it's actually now kind of put in a base and has a strong W here. Let's see. DMAX saying I'm consistent more than sun rising. It's true. You are consistent. Looks like DMAX dressed up as a pumpkin today for Halloween. And he's saying, wonder why nobody's talking about Zill. Well, I'm not talking about Zill because I can't even fucking buy Zill because I'm a American wage slave. Wait, a wage? I don't make a wage. I need a job before I can be a wage slave. I'm just trapped in the American crypto prison. You can see here on I don't see Kraken or Coinbase in here, so that's one reason I'm not talking about Zill. But we can look at it. Hey, I can add that one to my list, even though I can't trade it because I see a little weekly W in there, so I'll just add it real quick. So there's a new one. I did know this was a little uppy here recently, but I mean, same story. You could see the downside. I mean, the first thing I would always do when I look at something is go like, well, I mean, I've looked at these so much, I saw the W right away. But I also saw the downside risk. My next thing would be to look over here and just go like, well, what's going on? And one thing is there is this nice like consolidation area here that's being tested. So clearly there's some support against these lows here. And we are kind of setting up sort of like equal lows kind of thing like that link was. So you always got to be mindful of the chance of like FU in those lows. Now that we have like 3 or 4 piled up lows there, maybe they have to, I could see that kind of power of 3 thing dip down into here and then reclaim that range. And that's the same as that link trade. So that's a whole other setup. That's not this weekly W kind of idea, but it's a very valid way of approaching the market, and you might find some really nice risk reward by kind of buying those FUs of the lows. But just, clearly location's great. I mean, it's below 88.6 probably if we were just going to go back and draw fibs all the way back here. Yeah, so like, it's just a question of whether or not this lower price action has to be tested in the future. That's sort of also that same question of, do these weekly W's fail and do we roll lower into the end of the year, which is definitely like a possibility. But as far as just like whether I'd be willing to take a shot here, I'm happy to watch that W there and buy the breakout, assuming we have any kind of OBV helping me out here. And I think so. I mean, we had divergences starting all the way back here. This confirmed divergence kind of produced that pop up. And now we did technically make a new low. And OBV's not in divergence from here to here. So it would be nice to see that in divergence. And it would also be nice to see RSI touching oversold, which it has not done yet. If anything, RSI is coming up into the 50 line resistance here. But we do have a little W kind of trying to come in, so probably a little early. And just, when I look at these, they're kind of weak weekly W's, weekly W's. Every time I say that, it makes me laugh. But that's not like keep in mind, like a real nice, solid, awesome W would be wide. It'd be like that, And that, it might take a while for us to get that, but that doesn't mean you can't bang doubles off these little W's. I mean, you buy this like 19 cents breakout level, 18 cents, and the double's just up against the old highs. So if we have a range established here with the highs up here, you can bang a double off by buying these lows here and getting a double off somewhere up against the highs. So certainly could see getting free positions off of these little W's. But I don't know if those are the makings of an epic bull run. Like we might have to see better structure here to kick off a true bull. But doubles could be had. So I like it. I don't know. I added it to my W list. And so there's one more in there. What else we got here in the chat? TVK, Dusk, Troy, Burger. What was my biggest mistake during last cycle? Oh boy, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Yeah, I don't know. I'll think about that one. But let's look at some of these names here. Oh, KMD, I skipped that, Abdullah. Look at KMD first, because that was up top of the list. KMD is always a kind of old favorite of mine, which is sort of more difficult for me now because also not on, this is a privacy coin and the US does not like it. But I've always liked KMD. And hell, I can almost add this one too. I think, I don't know if we can call that a weekly W just yet, but it's getting close. I mean, dude, I don't know. I mean, I think if you want to be patient and wait for a true W here, you can see it kind of coming in. But if you're also just kind of a nibbler, we had a weekly W back here, which actually I banged a double out. That was back on KuCoin when I was still allowed. And I like that we've come back down against that level, and now we're basically trying to put in another W right off of the old W. And you can kind of see how KMD likes this level down here as support, just anywhere down in this like 20 cents area, just putting in a nice solid base. Whether or not you want to try to hunt FU moves of those lows isn't the worst idea, but either way, it looks like we've got a nice base building here. And you can see the doubles had, even if, there was no setup in here for me, but anybody that was in here buying these lows banged a double out. They could have bought back their position, got another double out. Maybe even right here, not quite, 23 up to, not quite a double on that move. But you can see how easily KMD can put in a move that might produce a double. So I don't know, maybe set an alert. In fact, I'll do that right now just so I can add it to my, I'm going to delete that line and I'll just put an alert right here so that when that fires, I can add it to my list. So yeah, but anyway, to finish the analysis of KMD, very simply, OBV looks great. RSI did actually get oversold back here and has been just kind of trending higher since then, but trying to W through the 50 line right now, so that's a pretty good sign. And OBV is just actually, well, in divergence even right here. So I think there's a confirmed even divergence right there as we kind of, I mean, that's a little weird, but we did go from low to low there. So, that, or lower low here. So that's valid. And we actually broke that out. So really just need that weekly W to break out. And then I like it. Not the easiest thing for me to go buy. Maybe I can buy it in like, I don't know. It's its own chain, right? KMD is a private, it's Komodo. It's a old sort of XMR. I don't know if it's actually an XMR clone or not. I don't know, but I might be wrong. Either way, I like the W. Let's wait for it to truly confirm though. But looks nice, and I mean, clearly this is an example of not chasing. I mean, and maybe like we could look at this like on Bittrex or somewhere where there's probably some older, I don't know, maybe against USDT is a weird one. Yeah, we can, yeah, you can see my old trade on back before I got kicked off Bittrex too. Fuck. You can see how I bought the old W. Anyway, my point was, you can see this, we're all the way back down against the original lows here. So awesome location. Just got to wait for, I guess this is current, right? Yeah. I guess Bittrex is still in business. I mean, I don't know. Everybody in the US got kicked off, but I suppose they're still up and running everywhere else. I don't know who uses Bittrex these days. Look at the volume. There's just like no volume. Damn. So, but just to see the price action, you can clearly see this 20-cent level is a nice base. So anywhere around 20 cents seems reasonable to me. I like it. Look at the upside too. I mean, 20 cents could draw like a 50% level off of these old highs and just kind of think like, well, I don't know where the low is exactly. I mean, we could say 38.2 is $1.90. So, I mean, 25 cents to $1.90 seems pretty good. So, and that's just using 38.2s. Like I'm just using a 38.2 dead cat bounce, kind of not even a bull market, just a dead cat bounce kind of market could produce that kind of move. So I like it. What else is in here? TVK. That sounds familiar to me, but oops. How am I opening up weird windows? What am I looking at? TVK. I don't even know what this is. It sounds familiar to me, but oh, there's a weekly W. I don't think I can trade this, but I'll still add it to my list. Maybe I can. I'm not sure. So let's see. Now, I mean, first off, unlike almost everything we've looked at already today, this thing's made new lows. So that's something to always sort of be mindful of right away. And also, I don't know if power 3, but reclaiming that would be a nice thing. Although I don't think this qualifies as like a quick reclaim. Remember, Link only took 2 weeks to get back inside. This thing's taken kind of a lot longer. So I don't know if you can really call this power 3 per se, but nonetheless, getting back above that green line will actually at least just give you some faith that maybe we have truly reclaimed the range and we might be able to move back into the range as opposed to just making another lower high and just rolling over again, because we are just drifting lower. So just, keep that in mind. Like, I mean, we do have a weekly W, which is super helpful, but at the same time, it was made at a new low. So you'd probably have to use like moving averages, maybe a moving average cross could help you kind of determine, at least see these moving averages consolidate a bit and start to cross would be helpful. Right now, we're just kind of getting up into 13 EMA resistance and so far getting above it. That's a good sign. And the moving averages are drifting closer. They're not like super wide like back here. Like see right here how we like didn't quite test it, but like as we got into the 13 here, but it was so wide and pointing down, it was just immediate resistance. That's a little different story here. Now we have a double bottom working, and also they're getting closer to crossing. So I could actually see a cross coming in here in the next, into the end of the year. And RSI did touch oversold just barely, no divergence, and OBV no divergence. Trying to W, but not even W'd yet. So still probably a little early. But either way, there's a weekly W. So, and you're certainly not chasing this thing up here or down here. It's not my favorite. I'm gonna give it a okay thumbs up. It made the weekly W list, but it's not my favorite. God, there's a lot of names you guys threw in here, so I don't know. Dusk. I'll try to. I mean, I got about 20 more minutes, so I was gonna try to keep it to an hour, but that never happens. So we'll try to cover all these in the next 20 minutes, and I'll keep it to an hour and a half. Dusk in the wind. What am I looking at here? I don't want to look at this swap. Look at this. Oh, there's another one. That's cool. At least there's some. See, I mean, again, at least we're starting to see weekly W's. So, like, that's another one that I can add here. Dusk. Another one I can't very easily trade on. Fuck. It's so annoying. This is kind of taking the wind out of my sails here a little bit. Just, I mean, that doesn't qualify as a mistake from last cycle, but just every cycle has came with I mean, it's just gotten kicked off. Poloniex, Bittrex, Qcoin, Cryptopia got fucking, that wasn't really like US getting kicked off, but the Cryptopia hack. I don't know. It's made this I'm an old man already, remember? And it's kind of, all those kicks in the nuts have kind of bummed me out on crypto a little bit. And now I'm just stuck on Coinbase and Kraken. That kind of sucks for the US participants, but it is what it is. So anyway, I was just adding this to the list. Don't think I can trade it, was what I was getting at. But anyway, weekly W, good location, OBV divergence. I see RSI not getting oversold, so that's sort of not my favorite. But just using RSI. But like I said, I'm not really, just kind of using RSI to talk about here. I don't need RSI to confirm for me to buy this stuff. I just need OBV, which I clearly see here. And actually I see a lot of, I mean, if you could see a divergence come in, like this is pretty common in crypto right now because we had the run up in January and then now we've kind of had the mini bear market come in. If you can find the OBV divergences in this move, that's better than from like here. Like not in this case, but if we had made a new low, you know what I mean? Like I'm not so interested in I'm still interested in them, but I don't really care so much about the divergences that happen on the previous bottom. If we made new lows, I'd really like to find them in the current sort of downtrend. So in this case, right here, because we did actually make a new low there, just barely, and you can see the little W in OBV, and you could even take it back to here if you wanted, and still have kind of looks maybe we didn't. Yeah, that's the low right there. So we didn't quite get it all the way back to. We just got it right there, but still good enough for me. And that's just the divergence. I mean, look at OBV. Has been sort of trending higher and still pointing higher. So in general, I think the OBV is telling us a story of people aren't running for the exits so much. Like, sure, the market got kind of kicked down in the dirt, but like, there's not like much panic selling at this point. It's more like slow accumulation, I'd say. Like a lot of these names, I see downside risk still. I mean, this is a W here and it has OBV divergence, like I said. So like, sure, I could buy that W breakout right there. But also just fully knowing and maybe even expecting a little bit of lower later on. I mean, 50% off is down at 6 cents, which is just down against the old lows here. So, just pick a level back here. There's not really a solid weekly W back in here. There's kind of like little ones, but even if we use that level, there's a W there. you can see how that's 64, 6.5 cents. And so the 50% haircut is very much on the table. So just keep that in mind with all this shit. So you're basically, you got to just ask yourself if you're willing to take a shot here or not. And if you are willing to take a shot, you have to either, maybe you're using stops or maybe you're not, but either you use a stop and walk away, or you kind of do the zero, no stop kind of risk to zero approach and just don't extend yourself into these things. So whatever if you're trying to buy 1% of this, maybe consider only buying half right now. Kind of like our Road to Financial Freedom plan. My case, I'm kind of weird and probably actually going back to David asked me my biggest mistakes last cycle. I mean, if anything, my biggest mistakes are often overcomplicating things a little bit and maybe spreading my out into too many names has been sort of, I wouldn't call them mistakes, but just sort of maybe not necessarily the best approach. And then I like to nibble my way in. So like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but me personally, if anything, I might end up under invested because I just am too conservative. And because what I was going to say about this is like, my approach is it's sort of like mixed. It's a combination of dollar cost averaging, but also hunting levels. So I'm not just like waking up every Monday and buying whatever names at whatever level. Like in that, dollar cost averaging, when I think of a true DCA strategy, I would think of you just kind of like pick a day and, divide up your money and, just every time that day hits, you just go and hit the market and, whatever, just buy. I kind of like to hunt levels still, but I do like to spread my bids out is what I'm getting at. So it's kind of like, I'm happy to buy this W, but I'm also not going to load up. And I'll just kind of, if it takes off, great, I'll get a smaller double off. But if it doesn't, I'll still have plenty of dry powder to just kind of work its way down, all the way down here, And if you think about it, like say you bought, I don't know, $100 here at 12, and you bought another $100 at 6, then you're going to be averaged in at, 9, which looks like a pretty good level. So just, try to keep all I'm getting at here is just try to keep that mindset in some, I think the biggest mistake you could do is just get too bullish here and go and put on your whole position size, whatever that is, like, and then have the W fail, go down 50%, and then you don't have any more capital to add. So just keep that in mind with these, because it's likely these are going to fail. I'll just, or it's a coin toss. Hell, I don't know, but just try to keep that framed into the mindset of buy when it snows. This is the time. We've waited patiently for this whole bull market to play out. Clearly bear market. we waited painfully through this time. I mean, that was just like ugly. We got this little sort of mini bull that did produce quite a lot of doubles. And that was nice. That was sort of the dead cat bounce. And then we had to go and wait patiently again. That was February of 23 there. So this is the beginning of the year. And now we're at the end of the year. We had to wait a whole other mini bull market. Or why do I keep saying that? Bear market. I'm thinking of Hanya's bulls. We want a bull market. I'm trying to say that we're hopefully closer than later, or closer to a bull market. Jesus. I'm having a problems putting together words here. But God, I don't know. I've just talked my whole way around all that, but all I'm getting at here is just, it's there's 50% downside risk to all of these. And that's just, there could be more. 50% is just kind of a number that I see. Like this is a perfect example, W breakout's at 12 and the old breakout is at 6. So that's your, that's the downside risk to these. So just try to, be a cautious bull or a cautious accumulator, but just don't blow the wad too early. That's Actually, talking about mistakes from past cycles, I mean, I certainly did that in 2018. The biggest mistake I made, not on this particular name, but well, this doesn't go back far enough. But simply put, even Bitcoin, like, I mean, buying 61.8s off of the 20,000 top, wasn't really that great of a buy. So you got, entering too early is probably, that's a mistake I've definitely made. And so that's why I'm kind of like, if anything, I'm like, I don't know, I'm sort of conservative now after taking heat on a lot of stuff from buying too early. I've sort of developed this approach of trying to wait for strong confirmation and not knife catch as much as I used to. I mean, because knife catching can work, like, but it often doesn't. Like, say you were like, back in this period here, you could have easily knife caught 78.6 and you would have caught that whole bull market. But I would argue there's a difference between knife catching there and knife catching here. And that difference simply is that this base was already set and we had already sort of went into kind of bull mode. That's when you start just hitting levels, So once we like, again, like once this actually, maybe it does come down here, but once we put in a wide W and see that first move, then this is where I'm willing to knife catch right there and just hit levels. And we're not in that kind of environment right now. We're in the sort of like carefully buy these W's and see if you can bang doubles out. And when I'm ready I mean, that's my trading plan straight up says, right now, my investment plan is looking for weekly W's and OBV confirmation. And then I have a setup that I literally call knife catcher setup, which is stupid, but that's just what I call it, which is just buying 78.6, but not caring about the other confirmation. It's just, that's in my plan, but for later. Once we start seeing more weekly W's, more breakouts, and they're starting. This is starting. So anyway, damn, that was a long rant that I don't know what the hell I was talking about. What other? We didn't. Damn, there's still a bunch of them. Troy. I'll speed it up a bit and just say no W. OBV looks great. Location is great. Tons of upside. Holy shit. This thing's got, I mean, there's too many zeros and stuff for me to count. I don't even know, but I can see there's a lot of upside. I mean, definitely a 10x is easily if it can get going. So I mean, I like this. I like location. I just don't see a W yet. I like OBV's in divergence, even confirmed. Confirmed from back here, and then now sort of not enough price action to make a call on that yet. I mean, we did make a new low, so you could say there is a little tiny one. Yeah, and it's confirmed even. There is a new low right there, it looks like. And we made new highs and even W'd out, so that's good. And there's also the bigger one. And also OBV clearly is just strongly pointing up. That's kind of weird. Like, there's a few different ways of looking at OBV. I'd say there's like the zoomed out approach, which is sort of just looking at it like this, going like, well, it's accumulating, right? It's like going up, and it's making higher highs and higher lows. So you could sort of look at it as like a trending kind of thing. That's sort of like the zoomed out. And then there's just W's, and then there's divergence. Those are like three different types of confirmation. And I can't tell you which one to use. Me personally, I kind of use all three, but it's kind of almost like a feel. Like I use like a divergence is like strong confirmation for me. A W is enough. And then this kind of like zoomed out look is just like, well, at least it's not going down. I'm totally into it. Like, I don't want to see, like, if this was just pointing straight down, the exact opposite, I would just be like, well, I can't do anything here yet. So no W there. I guess I didn't make that short. I was trying to, but holy shit, I didn't. Burger. I guess I'm just going to hit all these requests here to end my... I did have a couple small caps. I want to try to cover some small caps, but I didn't have anything great. But maybe I'll end with just mentioning a couple names that just kind of random sort of Hail Mary kind of names that I'm looking for. Which some of these might fit. And also, like, you know, if you guys want to go looking for stuff, that I had said 30 million last week, but maybe even up to like 60 million and under. I don't know what's considered like a micro cap in crypto. I kind of like 30 million, you know, because a 10x of 30 million seems pretty reasonable in a bull market, conservative even. So, but if we're looking for like 100xers and stuff, you know, I don't know, probably stick under 30s maybe. I don't know. I'm not even going to claim that I'm the best. I haven't been the best person to find the super long shots that pay heavy before everybody else knows about them. That's something I want to be better at, but I've usually stuck to just trading centralized exchanges using technical analysis. But I would like to get more into hunting just the sort of potential moons of the future. But anyway, Burger, actually Burger's not on my W list, but it looks like it could be. Yeah, so we got a little weekly W down against the lows. Really nice location. So this one doesn't really have the 50% immediate downside. It'd have to lose the lows to lose 50%. So I like that. Nice tighter risk window. You know, if you were to buy the breakout, even as like trading a setup with a stop, you could, you know, risk to those lows pretty easily. And you got 37 cents down to 28 cents. Whatever that is. About 30% in this case. So looks a lot like the other weekly W's. So I'll add it to my, oh, looks like I added the perpetual swap for dusk. That's not what I meant to do, but put old Burger in there. So yeah, we've built out a couple more weekly W's in this list. This one definitely has OBV divergence. Very strong looking OBV. You know, kind of has all of them. It has the one just at the recent lows. There's divergence in there. Has bigger one. And then it also has just strong, you know, ever since the actual sort of panic low, it's just been trending higher. So, I mean, I don't know. I can't fault anybody for just buying it right here, to be honest. I'm happy to buy that breakout. So, see what happens. Same story. Make sure I protect myself for lower prices into the end of the year. But damn if it's not I don't know, it looks good. Keep this train moving. Because I am almost at an hour and a half here, so there's a bunch more. Let's see, covered Burger. Wait, yeah, it has strong FA, only project that stores on-chain data for dApps. I don't know if that's GRT you're talking about, huh? Roble. Let's see. WWW mean weekly W or weekly W. Yeah. All right, so 1-inch NFT ACH, is that a crypto, or are you asking me to send money to your checking account? Wow, there's a lot of comments in here. Well, I'm going to just move on to these last few names really quick, and then we can look at those. But 1-inch. With 1-inch, my trick is to always, you got to type a letter first, because if you just type one, then the search box doesn't open. It opens the time window, so I always just put in like a letter first and then change it. But there's another one. I guess I don't have that one in my list either, but here's another cheeky little weekly W, and they're all kind of little, you know, they're not these big wide ones that we really want to see, but they're there. We're a lot closer than we were even like a few weeks ago. Like, you know, like a few weeks ago, we were looking at a potential 3-bar fractal breaking to the downside, and now it's turned into a W. So just a month can make that's the difference a month can make here, now that the markets are completely just sort of, whatever you want to call it, sold off into oblivion. 1-inch is, I mean, it looks good. We're down against the old Binance low open. Made it all the way down to it, even just checked it really briefly, and now we got a weekly W. One thing I don't like here is look at OBV here. Because we had this sort of pump and dump, and then they took it to new lows, you can see how OBV crapped out. And so now it's got to kind of set up again, but it's got a W. And RSI did actually get oversold here, and also even went into potential divergence here. So if we can take out the 50 line in RSI, you'll have a divergence there. It's a little early. I'd like to see OBV set up again. I don't remember exactly what happened here, but I feel like there was some bad news for 1 inch. But nonetheless, same as, a lot of these look the exact same now, right? This one's kind of more interesting in the sense that the downside risk isn't as extreme. There's not a bunch of weird price action back here with like holes in it asking to be eaten. We're basically down against the, the old low. I don't know, maybe there's more history somewhere, but that looks about right. That was 2020. Seems about right for 1 inch. 28, it's 29 cents right here, and the downside, the low is actually 20 cents. So it's about less than 30%. So it's got a tighter risk window than a lot of the ones we've looked at. Very similar to the last one. So generally looks good. Has a W. NFT. 2 more really quick here. Excuse me, I had to go on mute there for a second as I started coughing. Where should we look at this thing? NFT USD, you said specifically. Doesn't trade, I guess. Oh wait, Ape NFT. So this is this related to ApeCoin and stuff and Bored Apes? Probably. Why don't we look at it on Bybit? That's US dollar or DT. I guess we could I don't even know what this crypto is. I don't know if this is crypto.com or not, but they don't show OBV, so I'm thinking it's not actually a tradable. Well, that doesn't look, we'll leave that. How about Bybit? I never look at stuff on Bybit. Well, there's another W. This one, obviously, it looks a little thinner, a little more thinly traded. I don't know if it's related to ApeCoin or not. But what I do see is RSI divergence from, well, is that true? Yeah, so we had RSI divergence right there. Sort of marks a nice little bottom, potential bottom on that sort of panic sell-off. That looks kind of like capitulation too, right? Like somebody sort of capitulated. There wasn't a lot of volume on that sell-off. And now we've just sort of put in a weekly W. And actually even like sometimes I like to draw trend lines off the lows like this. And you'll see that it's just got its like 3 tags here. It's not really a trend line though, because there's no W yet. We truly have to have a W here, but that's like a nice location for buys in my opinion. If we do get the weekly W and you can draw your trend line like that, it's pretty common to see the 3rd test of it and then to find support against that. But that's not really a valid trend line. But there's a W, so I could add this one to my list too, although I doubt I can trade it. But we'll add it in there. I'm just trying to get I want to see how many there are anyway. And then we can go in a couple of weeks, we can look at these and say, like, did they work or did they all fail? We'll find out. Oh, wait, I'm looking at Ape. That's not what I meant to do. What am I doing here? I guess I was looking at Bybit. I don't even know if I'm looking at the thing you wanted me to look at, David, but it looks pretty good. I'm assuming it is because of the W. So anyway, RSI's in divergence. OBV is not, no divergence back here. And also kind of, I don't know if we actually made a new low there. No, we didn't. So we have potential W's, and then of course there's a little W. So it's trying to turn, but it's not, I wouldn't consider OBV turned yet here. So that doesn't give me as much confidence, but either way, it's a W. I can't fault anybody for taking their shot. Location-wise, it's kind of weird. I mean, this is kind of a weird, or it's a point to be made, I suppose, is like, I mean, sure, we're in a downtrend that was making new lows. Now we've made sort of a higher low, but we didn't really make a higher high, so I don't think you can argue the structure has been broken. This is still just a lower high. And of course, then we made like an intermediate higher low. But if you're going to draw fibs right here, the location's all of a sudden not very good. And so because of this tail, and I think what's being said here is like, tails like to be eaten. So, if you see a situation like this, we don't have good trade location. You could see how maybe some people sniped in here at Mountain Man and they're doing pretty good. But I don't like this kind of situation here. Like maybe this tail didn't exist on other exchanges or who knows what's going on here, but I don't really like these two tails just looming here because they're just sort of asking to be eaten, because keep in mind the reload zone's way down here. So I just keep that in mind. So I don't love that because, now you buy this breakout at 33 and you have risk all the way down to, I don't know, there's so many zeros. I guess it's really only like, it's not that much. It's really like about 30%, I guess. But still, those are just asking to get hit. So maybe better to wait. But that said, I mean, I can't really fault anybody for buying the W. I did add it to my list, but this one's questionable because I really don't like that tail. It's just sort of screaming to be eaten. What else is in here? I think that's it, actually. And do I have a maximum number of bags in my? Not really. It kind of comes down to the percentages I'm willing to. Like the Road to Financial Freedom plan is a pretty good example of very similar to how I'll approach things. Like that one, if we put 1% into each name and we're risking our entire portfolio in that case, because, it's not our entire net worth, but the entire, because, well, first of all, let me clarify that. I suppose, like, whatever I'm going to put into crypto is the 100% of it I want to buy altcoins with. It's not my entire portfolio, but I'm not, so it's like whatever you end up with, 1% per name would be like 100 names, but of course you probably bank some doubles out along the way. And then maybe you, maybe you buy reload on a different name. So you end up with more than 100. So I think that's pretty healthy. That's like sort of, well, let's put it in another, like in 2017, I had like 300 I had like 300. I wasn't the only one. I mean, almost everyone I knew was doing, a lot of TRI people had 200 plus, altcoins. We were just buying every altcoin. There was probably like 1,000 altcoins then. And we had like 300 of them. I think I had more than, to be honest. And I don't necessarily, fortunately that was an epic bull market where lots of money was made, but like, I don't know if that's the best approach. So like actually kind of going back to that, I would almost consider that a mistake in a way to just trade too many names. But at the same time, in context, like 2017 was a little different because like literally everything was bullish. Like I think I've mentioned before how, everything doubled. You couldn't have found an altcoin that didn't double in that bull run. In future bull runs, I'm not sure. They'll probably still double. I'm sure most things will double off the lows, but like there's just so many more coins now. Like there's more assets. So it'd be like you can't go buy 50% of the stock market. Like if you wanted to nibble in 50% of the names in the stock market, it'd be impossible. Like, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of names. And crypto's kind of getting that way. So I don't know if it's the best idea to spread yourself too thin. I think even 100's a lot. There's a lot of like old school traders who would probably just flip out on that. And they'd be like, no way, I consolidate my efforts into like 10 names. I don't like that though. So it's like, you got to find a balance. Like with altcoins, I don't see a point, and I don't want to narrow it down to 10 names and just go heavy into 10 names. That doesn't really, the whole market's correlated, right? So like, you could do that. And because the whole market's correlated, the 10 names you pick will probably kind of do okay. But of course, you're probably going to miss, the way I see it, there's going to be like, there'll be some sort of like darlings of the market, the 100Xers, the next Soul, the next, whatever name, if you think about any of the names that were sort of the outperformers in the past cycle, and like you want to try to hopefully have those. and it's kind of hard to pick them. So like, I don't know, like you like 10's too little, but like 200's probably too many. So me, I like 100. That sounds like a good place. And I like 1% too per, you know, 1% per name seems pretty good. You know, less than 1% per name is kind of small. I don't know. So it's just, you got to find your sweet spot in there. And of course, like I might be a little more limited through just my exchange. You know, this time around, I don't have access to a lot of these things. So yeah, I think I like 100 to be honest. I don't have a set number in my plan to specifically answer your question. I don't like have a hard number, but and I also might add to my I'm also not even like I don't have a set number on the amount of capital either. I'm hoping to add new capital to this plan. So kind of just letting that sort of I'm just letting that breathe. But I do think like yeah, I don't want to get up to like 200 or 300. And of course, I still have bags left. You know, I still have shit left over. And so yeah, I think I like 100. I like the road to financial freedom approach. And in that case, you know, that's a much simpler strategy of just taking 0.5%. You know, you're basically you got two bullets. If you take this W here, these current W's, then you got one more bullet if the first W fails. And I've said it before, and I kind of just like it's pretty common for the first weekly W to kind of fail, and then the next one to be the bottom. That seems like what we might be heading into now. With this being the first weekly W, I'm kind of ignoring the ones. There were some weekly W's in the first bounce, you know, the first part of the year, but not that many. Funny enough, like I mean, a lot of the things that bounced didn't really truly W. They kind of like V bottomed. So anyway, that's a long answer to that question. I think too many is too many. Like 300's too many. 200's probably too many. 100's a lot of. I mean, because keep in mind you got to also be able to keep track of it and shit. The more names you have, the more headache, you know, working your orders. And I mean, back in 2017, somebody built a cool script for Bittrex that would, because Bittrex used to kill your orders. I guess exchanges don't do that anymore, so that's not such an issue. But you know, Bittrex would kill your orders every 30 days. So we had like a script that we would run that would replace our orders. And so if you had like, you know, a shit ton of names, at least you could do that. But now that's not so much an issue because I don't think most exchanges have good till cancel orders with no expiry. So, but you know, keeping track of 300 names with multiple sell half on double orders and maybe multiple bids working and stuff can become really kind of a headache. So I think 100's good. So anyway, God, I still went over. Now I'm at an hour and 40 minutes. And I don't know, there's not that many people in the room at this point, so maybe I put everybody to sleep. I didn't really well, we covered a shit ton of names, so that's not like we didn't go through a ton of names. And I did add several to my list here. So I've built out a pretty solid like 20. I mean, that's 20 names right there probably. So like that's already, you know, a good chunk of that 100 names. So I don't know, when we watch this list build out, well, we'll see. Like I said, we'll see what happens to these weekly W's in a few weeks into the end of the year. We'll see if they can hold the lows. I like my Sia coin. I'll go back to Sia coin. You know, we'll see what happens with something like this. Like, can it just, I mean, you know, there's 8 weeks left in the year. So like 8 more candles. Does it just kind of, you know, bump along down here? Maybe check that level a couple more times. It seems likely, but does it hold like this trend line? Like, let's see what happens with, like, where would I draw it? Even if I mean, I like to draw it off the W. That's kind of steep. I don't know about that. But like, even if we just kind of go back to the old lows or something and just kind of look at this sort of maybe off those 2 lows there and just see how support's been setting. So it's like, can we kind of basically just sort of stay above this trend line, or do we lose it and have to set up all over again? So that's kind of, you know, I'm going to take my shots here. Like I said, I already bought this one. We'll see what happens. So let's just see, you know, in the next few weeks what happens here. But I think if you don't take your shot, you're never going to be around for the party if it does, like, because it might be that this thing kind of takes a few months of doing not that much. Like it just bumps along. Maybe it kind of even takes out these lows a bit, but still basically stays kind of, at least above the old low, like back here. Hopefully we kind of at least stay in that zone, but we'll see. I mean, either way, without a doubt, hands down, this is the time to be paying attention. Same story that we've been saying for the whole year, really. Now's the time to really keep focus and get your plan together. And, we want to buy markets. I mean, this is a beautiful looking chart. This is the kind of markets that we want to buy, like very simply. I don't know if you want to keep it simple. You don't want to, I've said this a lot lately, but even like this would be like knife catching. If you're just stepping in buying this because it looks cheap, you actually had to take quite a bit of heat here. It wasn't really that cheap. But now, I mean, against the old lows back here and also a nice sideways consolidation period here, it's looking pretty cheap. Like, so you can't fault anybody for buying right here. Like, I would never say you're chasing right here. I mean, maybe if you want to be zoomed in and say, well, I'm chasing a little bit up here, I'm going to buy it like, 8 cents cheaper. That's smart. But like, point being, you're not even buying like up here, like to be, when this was just a big old green candle, to step in right here and buy that's not what we're trying to do here. But to just let it calm down and come against the lows, I don't know. I have to buy this. I'm not telling you guys what to do, but like when I see that, or what's another one I really like lately? What's my favorite in here? Or like Quantum. I was talking about Quantum last week. Perfect example. Went and bought that breakout and look what it's doing. I didn't even talk about that today. Did talk about it last week, but when I see like that kind of, this is exactly like Scicoin actually. It's just a little farther up. It's, it broke out more. Scicoin's trying to do that now. But, if I see something like this, very similar chart, I don't know, kind of got to buy that, right? I don't know. If I'm going to do this, take all this time on YouTube and working with everybody, and we're trying to build this crypto traders arena trading community, and I spend an awful lot of time fucking around with all this stuff. I kind of got to drink the Kool-Aid, right? I mean, this is the time to, I don't know, the time is now. It wasn't here, and it wasn't even here really. I mean, sure, yeah, it was kind of coming in, but we're still sort of fighting the old bear. And I mean, you can kind of see how this could become the sort of real weekly W we want to see. Like if it takes out the highs here, and then we have like nice wide W, and then it's like, okay, cool. This is the beginnings of the kind of price action that can take us all the way up here down the road. So I'm not the best trader. I'm not the smartest trader. I have my own issues and my own fucking problems and make mistakes, and just like everybody, but I do know, if I know anything, is that now is the time to be. I mean, we have so much going for us. We have like the halving cycle, and this is like the sweet spot right here, 6 months before the halving. This is about 6 months before the halving, and we have a 2-year painful bear market behind us, which is good for buying when people are crying. I mean, everybody's cried for the last 2 years. And now we're getting in a situation where most of the criers have been washed out. They're all, all the bag holders have, the ones that were gonna sell have sold. The diamond hands might still be hanging on, but they're not gonna sell. I don't know, any smart money that's bag holding from up here for whatever reason, they're probably not gonna sell here. And then of course, any dumb money is probably already sold. And so it's just kind of like, this is what we want to look for. And so like, we can use all the expressions. Buy when it snows. Well, it's about to start snowing. Bitcoin 4-year cycle we're in the sweet spot of that. Halvings in 6 to 7 months. Long periods of sideways consolidation after a bear market, that kind of looks like this. Like that's sideways consolidation right there. Longer the channel, the bigger the run. Brian Beamish loves to say that. You can look back here and kind of see what it looked like. I mean, COVID sort of panic load everything, but still same kind of, like how long was this? That low was on December 3rd of 2018. And then you could call the breakout this W maybe on, what is that? January 4th, 2021. So what is that? That's, this one didn't actually, that's kind of, that's all right. Yeah, that's the Bitcoin move up to 14K right there. But still, that's a long ass period. This one kind of has a muted cycle, so that one's not the best example. But point being, like long ass, long period. I guess what am I talking about? That's right. So either way, like couple years that took to put that solid bottom in. Not everything was like that because some shit ripped higher, but like this one didn't truly rip until 2021. Whereas like right here, this was a bigger rip in a lot of stuff, and then it came back down. But still, same. I'm getting off topic here, but hopefully you can see this old sideways channel. Sure, it was wide and kind of volatile, but this is what a base looks like. And it looks like we're at least 2/3 of the way of this, right? We're well into the base. And so I don't know what my point is I have to buy it. That was a long ass way of just saying that this is the time to, I don't know, to get your shit together and, get your plan together, get your money together, take some nibbles. Look for weekly W's. I don't know, whatever your plan. I mean, I don't know what, I can't tell everybody exactly what, you could copy our Road to Financial Freedom plan. You could literally just copy the levels. Now, I'm not advising that or giving, saying it's a guarantee or anything, but you certainly could pull up that spreadsheet, go and actually look at the levels that we set every week. I mean, you can watch the Sunday show as well and just, that plan's a little looser in terms of looking for confirmation than what I'm talking about, but ultimately just totally fine. I don't know if we have a QTM in our plan or not. I think we do because it's a relatively larger market cap one. But point being, I don't know. I'm repeating myself over and over again. I feel like I've been saying this all year anyway, but here we are farther along we're almost through 2023 and this looks like a fucking bottom. This looks like a bottom. I don't know. Like pick any of these. Like I kind of like this BNT. It looks the same. It's not as strong, but I mean, long ass bottom. Not on my, well, I do have it on my weekly W list, I guess. Cause there's like cheeky little ones. Like, this one has the weekly W working back here, still holding the lows. Plus there's like a wider one now. Just big, tall one. It's, it just barely took out the high there, or I mean, took the breakout level and then came right back. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm not trying to talk. It's funny to do these shows because like, I don't even know who's listening to me right now. I know it's not a lot of people, and I also am just sitting here in my room, just talking to myself. But I sometimes feel like I'm trying to talk people into shit. I'm not trying to talk anybody into it. I don't need to convince other people for me to do it. But at the same time, I'm like doing these shows, I'm doing this community, I'm trying to, I don't know, whatever experience I do have, pass that on to others. And I have to at least, not financial advice, not telling anybody what to do or what to buy or how to do it or saying you should copy me or copy anybody else. I just repeat over and over and over again that this is what a bottom looks like. It's just like I love drawing my little quarter pipe, that's the bottom. Doesn't it look kind of like that? Like we had a bull run and now we had this like slow thing and we end up putting in a bottom. That kind of looks like this, right? So I don't know. Use that information with what you will. I didn't invent any of this shit. I do know that to be fair, like, I learned from Brian and from Brian Beamish. I learned these basic concepts. I've put my own spin on them. I've developed my own ways of looking at the market. I have setups that I created that aren't anything that TRI talks about for like day trading and stuff. I've just tried to develop as a trader, just like everybody else. I teach people how to trade. I worked for TRI level 1 program for like 4 or 5 sessions, or longer, actually, a couple years. I don't know exactly. And now we're teaching some people in our Capua 1 program, which we'll be firing up another one, actually, by the way, towards the end of the year. And like, what's my, I've done all this. I'm doing all that. I'm like, teach people how to do this shit. But really, I'm not even claiming to be the best at it. I'm just trying to impart that now is the time. So I'm just like going on around and around about it. But I'm just trying to be like, well, you can get interested now, or you can pay way more money to join Crypto Traders Arena in whenever the bull run is, when everyone else is coming. Like during this time right now, like during this part of the move, Crypto Traders Arena is going to probably get really busy. Fuck, I remember TRI had like 200 students one term during the bull market. And honestly, it was impossible to teach those people how to trade. To be fair, it was really hard to get people to listen, because they were probably like we're sitting there talking, and they were probably watching Sol go to the moon and buying it at the top while taking the course, unfortunately. And so this is kind of the reality of how things work. Now there's like 4 or 5 people watching this right now or something. Although I did notice the numbers were pretty good on replay recently, but oh God, now I'm just super fucking rambling. Sorry, but I'm just gonna finish this thought and just say, like, you can be this kind of buyer, you can be this kind of buyer. Right now is the time to be this kind of buyer. So you either step up and do it or don't. And maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. Maybe crypto goes to fucking zero, but at least you tried here. Like, at least if you take your shot here, that you put yourself in a position to take advantage of what might happen like this later. I mean, this fucking thing went from 28 cents to $9.36 in 2021. So, you can see the little W down there. This is on Binance, but there is a little W breakout there. And you can see how you would have gotten your first double, somewhere way down here. It doesn't even show up on the screen, like if you were in here buying that W, for example, that was at 24 cents and you're already banging out doubles just kind of up in the first few weeks of the bull. So anyway, and I don't know, man, I'm just doing the best I can. I'm not a very good YouTuber. I'm maybe okay at talking about markets a little bit. I like to share what I've learned. I don't claim to own any of this information or think that I'm the one that invented it. I know that it works. I know that there's a slightly decent chance there'll be some kind of bull run in the future, even if it's not to new highs. I've said over and over again, I don't think we should think about it that way. We should try to just, if you can bang doubles out with moves back to 38.2s or other conservative targets, then just focus on that for right now, and then worry about the epic bull later. And eventually, hopefully it comes. And I've also mentioned there's other macro things that might sort of change the next cycle a little bit, like rising interest rate environment, for example, is a little different. The last bull runs, there was basically just free money floating all over the place. And so it was a little, there was a lot more juice behind the markets in the past. And so like crypto's experienced that its entire life. Bitcoin's basically only enjoyed low interest rates, cheap money environment until now. And so we don't know how that's going to affect things. But we do know that now is a good time to take your shot. So hopefully, if anything, hopefully people just hear me when I say that. I don't know. God, I've said it so many damn times. And it's not, so I don't know. I'm not going to be like, I fucking told you guys. That's not like it's not my style to later on. I don't want to have to say that. I don't want to have to like listen to people say they missed it. And I don't want to like be righteous or anything, but I will be involved. I will be, if there is a bull run, I'll be somehow involved. Because I'm right now buying. I mean, I guess I didn't even get into the stuff I've bought today. Well, I did a little bit. I bought Scicoin. I bought that Cartesi. I've bought Quantum recently here. I bought that breakout, the C98 breakout. So, I am buying these names. I'm not buying every one of them because I can't, like Zill, for example, but I'm going to buy most of these weekly W's. So anyway, now I've talked like 2 hours, probably making a fool of myself, but I don't really care. And if anything, I always, our community's, everybody's cool, and I never feel like I don't care. Like, even if I do make a fool of myself a little bit, I trust that everybody's cool and we're all just kind of doing our thing. And I don't really give a shit if I make a fool of myself. I've done it for most of my life. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll keep doing my best at this, and I'll just keep kind of talking about it. I don't know. People can listen if they want. And of course, we'll keep doing our community, and you guys can join our Discord if you haven't already. It's cryptotradersarena.com. Check us out. If you want to get into more scalping and day trading and stuff, and Paul and Stefan, to be honest, Paul and Stefan are two of the best traders I've ever known. I know a lot of professional traders, and to be honest, in terms of actually getting in there on a daily basis and scalping and trading setups and just being consistent every day and producing profits basically every month, I don't actually know anybody better at it than them. I'm not even throwing myself in that there with them because I'm not nearly the scalper that they are. But I'll vouch for them. I mean, I hang out with them every day, watch them trade every day. They also have a unique ability to sort of live trade. Like, I don't know many people that truly live trade, that actually can share setups before they happen with the group on a and I'm not talking about once. Anybody can do it once. They do it every day, and they've done it every day now for over a year. And honestly, I know a lot of people that trade. I don't know anybody else that really does that. So that's how I'm hyping our group, I guess, right now, is just saying that, if you are interested in, this stuff I'm talking about here is like the easier, slowed down investing type of take advantage of the cycle. But if you want to get into the nitty gritty and actually start trading setups daily and maybe become a professional trader, and maybe be able to leave your job or whatever you want to do, maybe become a full-time trader and sit in your underwear and gamble on the internet. I don't think there's anybody better to do it than Paul and Stefan, and actually other gladiators in the group. And of course, I think I'm if you want to come and learn with us, and like I said, Capio 1 will start up again here in a couple months. I feel like I'm pretty good at explaining shit. I probably talk way too much, but we've built a pretty good program that sort of sets the basis for how you do this, and how to get started. And just in a few months, I think we can get you up and running to a place where you're at least ready to do, what we call the $100 challenge, which is just, low capital, small position size trading to get familiar with, your strategy and execution and all that stuff. That's kind of the intention of the Capio 1. So if that's something that you want to do, then I do believe that we're doing a pretty good job getting people started at that. And of course, once you have the sort of basis covered, how to size your position and stuff, if you really do want to trade with Paul and Stefan every day, then that's also available to, the VIP group, basically just, every day, or is showing up and trading crypto and the traditional market with Paul and Stefan. And funny enough, they're all turning into killer traders too. So at the end of the day, like, they probably don't even need to listen to Stefan and Paul. So that's the intention, right? Everybody needs to kind of be able to do this on their own. And then we all kind of work together just to sort of support each other in that. But at the end of the day, this is a game that you have to nobody can do it for you. So, all the YouTube videos in the world won't help if you can't just, figure out a way to, like in this case, figure out a way to be a buyer down here. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I just talked way too fucking long. Thanks for listening if you are still with me. And I'm happy to look at all your requests. You can send me the weekly W's you guys find, and I'll add them to this list, and we'll just see how this list builds out over the next few months. And with that said, I'll just take myself and go. Maybe it'll snow soon. Even it's fucking cold here all of a sudden. So anyway, I'll say bye and just be back to. I'll be back tomorrow at the New York session just for the trading session that we do in our group. And of course, Paul and I will be back on Sunday on YouTube to talk about our the other investment plan that we're working for the public. And then just feel free to reach out to me on Discord if you have any questions, and I'll just talk to y'all later. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.